so much for watching this really fucking weird movie. It's not quite as bad as I thought. There's two more people here. First off, you know what you saw, Adam shot everything, got busy doing stuff, gave me all the tapes. I made a 12-hour cut.
Wow.
That was good, and this man really made this film really great. Please welcome the editor, David Nordstrom. And then, by far, the guy with the most answers and the most fascinating guy. Please welcome Miles Dougal. And thank you to the LA Film Festival. It does take some balls to play shit like this.
So this is how it'll work. Wait, what about me?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to ask these guys a question. You guys take a minute to process. Think of your own. We'll have a chat, and we'll go to the RV, and we'll have a drink. We all need. You know, in watching it and coming off of what Mike said about this being, you know, one of the worst quality visually movies you'll ever see in the Regal, and then what gets said at the end about entertaining yourself, it makes me think about what we need in film and what we expect. And when I saw the movie for the first time, I really realized that it had a very deep value and a deep resonance with me, and that the sound quality and what I was seeing really didn't matter. It was a very character-driven story, and I want to hear a little bit about what you saw and where you found all of that, and where you kind of backed off as an artist and let this stuff come through.
Sure, well, sort of like what Giuseppe's whole philosophy, he almost has contempt for technically proficient films. I didn't set out to make as you know, lo-fi a film as possible, but I mean, the film was shot over the course of one weekend. I just had one borrowed camera that I used to shoot the whole thing. But the reason I wanted to make the movie in the first place was that when Giuseppe started cranking out these movies, he would show them to his dad and he'd show them to Mary, and he'd show them to some of the people who were in them. But he would always, his dad would drive him down from Ventura to my house, and he'd come over and he'd show them to me. And it would just be Giuseppe and me watching film after film after film. He'd come every couple of weeks with a new one. And he'd watch me watching his film. And it was such a surreal experience the way he would do it, because he would, every time something was funny and I would laugh, he'd get so excited and laugh that I was laughing. It was really a very sweet experience, you know. And he would tell me the stories of how he found the various people in his films, and the stories of what it would take to wrangle them, and how unreliable they were at times, and how it would drive them crazy, but how great it was, and how fulfilling creatively. And he was assembling this sort of family, and I found that to be very touching. You know, he has this sort of island of misfit toys that he's put together, and these are people that are homeless people. If you are walking down the street and somebody that looks like Vietnam Ron is walking toward you, you will walk to the other side of the street. But Giuseppe didn't see them that way. He saw them as human beings, and he saw them as creative people, and he saw them as artists that and eccentrics that he embraced. And I found that all to be very endearing. And that was the key for me, why I wanted to make the documentary. Sure, it's funny, and they're characters, and the movies are crazy, but the family that he created, and that to me is why I wanted to make the film. So you say that characters was the key for when you watched it, that was the key for why I wanted to make it.
Didn't you show the film to Rollins?
Yeah, I showed Henry Rollins a couple of Giuseppe's films. And for those of you who don't know, Henry Rollins is an icon of punk. He was the lead singer for Black Flag, and he's a big spoken word artist, and now he's this big pop culture star. Yeah, very intense guy. And he's the last person you'd expect to be shocked by anything. And he said to me, Adam, you can't just show somebody these films without warning them what to expect. you can't do that to someone. I thought that was pretty fun. Anyway.
Good answer. More questions? Or any questions first? Go ahead, right there.
Big congratulations to you guys. I'm an indie filmmaker myself, and it just really inspired me. Probably my favorite movie of the year. Really, really important film, I think. I've got a group, he's part of it too, called the Long Beach Acting and Film Association, and we shoot a short film every single month on like 5Ds or 7Ds. But our last movie we shot on like iPhones and Androids. And so I just wanted to ask you about how the advice you gave Giuseppe about how technology has changed the medium of filmmaking, and you can self-distribute online, or you have all these great film festivals popping up, and just how storytelling has changed because of the age we live in now.
Sure, well, that's the good news for anybody who wants to make a movie, is that the medium is irrelevant. People will take your film seriously no matter what format it's shot on if it's good. So you can shoot your film on a phone, and you can edit it on an iPad, and you can market it to a worldwide audience on social media, and you can distribute it to a worldwide audience on YouTube. I mean, if the technology that exists now existed when I was a kid, I grew up making Super 8 movies. I'd have to buy Super 8 film cartridges for like $10 each. It was 2 minutes of film. Now you can shoot endlessly for nothing, and you can cut it together for nothing. You just have to take it seriously. You just have to make it as good as you can make it, and it'll change your life if you make a great film that somehow catches fire. So I encourage everybody to just go out and make their movies. There's no reason to wait for permission anymore to make a movie. Just make one. Don't wait for the right amount of money. Don't wait for the right cast. Don't wait for the perfect scenario. Just start making movies. That's my advice.
Giuseppe makes a movie.
More questions? All the way to the top.
Can you give us an update on the different people in the movie? And also, Miles, have you ever been recognized on the street?
Not from a Giuseppe film.
That's what I meant.
Oh, that's what you meant. No, not yet, but we can look forward to that with this. By the way, you know, you three guys made a great movie. Really, when it was being shot, well, we were shooting 2 different movies, and I had no time for your movie, for this movie, which turns out to be maybe even more interesting than one of Giuseppe's. But no, I actually met Giuseppe on Detroit Rock City, which I was also a cast member of. For some reason, Adam thought, or for a very good reason, Adam thought that I might gel with this little troupe that we saw. By the way, what we saw here tonight, I lived for like 2.5 years.
How many movies did you do, Giuseppe?
6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I don't, you lose count after a certain point. No, I hear tell of some assemblage of fame or whatever that Giuseppe has over the internet or whatever. But no, I've never been recognized on the street. Right? Aren't you that guy from Elephant Fuck or whatever? So no.
I have to just ask David a quick question, because you had an unenviable task of cutting it all down into a digestible length. How did you tackle it?
Good question. I think that in keeping with your whole approach to the movie, it was all about these characters, and I think the hardest thing, the single most hardest thing to do, is given the content of the movies, was to present it in a sequence in a way that people weren't just going to be repulsed by the whole thing. And so it was about kind of like trotting out what makes these people really interesting people and people and good artists, and about kind of like slowly evolving this sense of, it's a weird dysfunctional family, but you know, a family nonetheless, and so getting that across in the early stages so people are with it. Yeah, you can.
Update. So this footage was shot quite a while ago, and we've done our best to actually find everybody. But as you may imagine, Tyree has passed on. He was very elderly at the time, 2005, and he, from what we heard, mostly Big Ed is our source of information. He said that he finally was getting so sick that he went to live with his son, who was probably like 60, in Utah, and just passed on as an old man. But Big Ed, like you saw, Big Ed, Giuseppe, and Mary all moved to Austin. They finally got a little bit tired, I guess, or burned out out of a trailer park, so they live separately. Ed lives by himself, and Mary and Giuseppe have a place, and they're still making movies. They're just doing it in Austin now. And as Giuseppe put it, yeah, I needed to move into another dimension. So, without any irony or any humor intended. Walter Patterson, we just were calling around, and he has moved to Minnesota. We assume he's doing well. Tiffany, we don't have any number of, but we are going to go to Ventura and look for everybody. Ron and Bigfoot are still homeless, so we don't actually know where they are. Can I say anything less sad? Yeah.
I'll talk about, I talked to Dongo.
Dongo, okay, we do have something good.
So I tried to get Dongo to come here tonight. Dongo we were able to track him down because he occasionally will work at a antique stove repair shop in Ventura, scraping off lead of antique stoves without a mask on. And so Ed said to try him at the stove place. So I caught him at a moment when he happened to be there. And this was the other day. I said, hey, Dongo, you know the documentary we shot, it's done. Oh, great, Adam, that's great. And so the news wants to do a piece about the documentary. You want us to come pick you up? We'll drive you down here. You can do a little interview about working with Giuseppe. Oh, hell no, fuck that, no way. I don't want to be interviewed for the news. I said, why not? Oh, I don't want to be on TV, man, no way. I said, well, at least come to the movie on Saturday night. Oh, I don't think I want to see that, Adam. I said, okay, well, we'll be in touch. We'll be in touch. Okay, great. But
You should say what you said about that in terms of the outsiders.
Yeah, because then I was asking Adam, I was like, wait, man, was it okay when you did all this, or like how were they? And they were so happy because once they stay inside their circle and in their safe spot, they're super happy. They always work. I mean, we showed probably like 10 films in this, but Ron's in at least 25 movies over like 10, 15 years. They constantly kept working with each other, and they felt safe around that. Because when you filmed them, they were excited, and they seemed.
They loved it. They loved it. Well, that's the thing is that any sense of an outsider, like they trusted me when I was there because Giuseppe trusted me. But like when Garbanzo Gas played at the Cine Family here in LA, they couldn't get Ron to come down to LA because it was just outside of his comfort zone. Anything outside of their little bubble of comfort, they want nothing to do with. But they had a blast, as you can see. I mean, making these movies was such a high point for all of them. And they loved doing them all. That's part of why I love making this movie. It was just neat to see this family.
That's largely why we programmed it. I mean, I really felt like this is a really special thing to be able to see this community, and I just got like that. So I'm gonna wrap it up by saying that I thank you guys enormously for a really thoughtful, really beautiful, really fun film.
Thank you.
Thank you. I got it. The movie screens again, so tweet it, Facebook it, MySpace it, whatever people do these days. Let people know about it. Turn in your ballots. And then come across the street to the RV. You'll see it because it's huge and lit up. And it's that way.
It's next to the taco.
It's next to the taco truck. And thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you.